Our guys are continuing my spring football tour, not into North Carolina school, but I'm talking to a North Carolina guy. I am here at Hoover, Alabama. A good old friend of mine, Coach Chip English, head football coach here at Hoover High School, the Bucks. You know, that's a nationally renowned program. But Coach, thanks for showing me around and just the hospitality and letting me see what some truly big time high school football looks like.
Well, we appreciate you having you. I remember my days in North Carolina, so when you said you were going to come down and take a visit, I couldn't be more thrilled. It got a lot of things going on down here, and obviously in our weight room now, so any coverage is awesome.
You know, let's start with the weight room. You know, every football program has to start, and the foundation begins in this room right here. 32 racks. You know, this is the size of an auxiliary gym, I guess is the best way of putting it. An incredible workspace to work out your guys. But when I found out you had 200 players, you know, you need a big spot like this.
We do. We shuffle all 200 in here every day, 5 days a week. So whether it be dynamic warm-ups, whether it be position stuff, we get after it, and our strength staff does a great job here of making sure our guys are ready to go in the fall.
You know, I remember when you was the quarterback at Central Cabarrus. You know, I remember you being an assistant coach for Ron Massey and I guess Mike Newsom, both at A.O. Brown. And then you had a great run. I mean, an absolutely great run at West Caldwell. But you've been gone. How long has it been since you was in North Carolina? Probably about 7, 8 years.
9 years.
9 years.
Yeah,
Holy
9
cow!
years. So my last year up there was in 2014.
What are some of the big differences? You know, you came straight to Alabama. You've had another head coaching role. You were an assistant. You were an assistant here, and then elevated to the head coaching job. Tell me some of the differences in this big time Alabama football versus what you experienced in North Carolina.
Well, the commitment level from the school perspective is really where it needs to be. You know, we want to provide everything for our student athletes that we can't possibly can, whether it be weight room, nutrition, meeting spaces, practice facilities, practice gear, all that stuff. But honestly, football's football. At the end of the day, it's about relationships with the students, and we feel like we do a good job of that here. And you know, making that transition, it wasn't really tough. You're dealing with a little bit more players. The business end of it, every sport down here in Alabama compared to North Carolina, every sport down here is its own business, its own entity. We get all of our gate, we fundraise, we don't get any financial backing from the school system. So on that end of it was a little bit more focus and hiring staff and booster members and stuff. So it's been a process. It's been a learning curve. Every year you try to get better and better at it, and I enjoy it. And we're definitely in the mix every year, and that's because of the resources that we have.
Sure. You know, you mentioned something that I want to go back to. You talked about the commitment level from an administration. And, you know, I think that's something a lot of coaches would love to learn or talk more about, because, you know, there's always expectation set by schools, you know, the standards or whatever. But if that commitment level is not in line with, you know, the expectations they have, you know, it's just not going to work out.
Oh, that's the name of the game, right? And so we have to have spots in the building in regards to teaching units. We have to have the structure within our day. That's a big component right now. Is when do we get the football players? How often do we get them? What's the duration that we get them? Do we have preference in regards to our practice time? We try to go in the morning to beat some of the heat and the weather. And so, what does our meeting times look like? How does that fit the school day? So, our administration here does a great job. We have a meeting. You know, preseason, postseason, and in that postseason meeting, we talk about future needs that we need to have, and then how do we make that happen from January to March. Once we have that established, we're ready to roll into the spring portion of our off-season program, the summer, and then obviously the fall.
And, you know, one other thing I want to touch on, you mentioned nutrition for your program. I mean, you have a full-fledged nutrition program, you know, making sure that your men have, you know, what they need, not only to compete at a high level, but, you know, also just have food to subsist on. You know, we know players come from different backgrounds, you know, all so on and so forth. But you guys do a great job of not only making sure your players are fed, but, you know, I want to say making sure your players get to where they need to be in life, and using football as that stepping stone for later in life.
We do. So there's two major components when it comes to nutrition. One, you provide it for them, and then two, you educate them. So when they're not with you, they have the ability to kind of make wise decisions and things that are going to help their bodies. And so we do that here. We have a pretty sizable budget when it comes to making sure our guys get their amount of protein and calories that we work them out really, really hard, and we don't want them to lose weight. if you look at the college years, you send guys off to college. That first year they come back, they're like, "Oh my goodness, you've grown, you've done this and that." Well, the weights aren't necessarily different; it's the nutrition. So what we try to do here is make sure we bring that nutrition to the high school level and go ahead and give them a jump start on that.
All right, Coach. Hey, this has been great. I've loved watching your program and just looking at all the cool stuff you got here. It's incredible. You've come a long way from being a quarterback at Central Cabarrus, but we're proud of you, and thanks for kind of giving us this in-depth look at your program.
Absolutely, anytime. Appreciate it, Chris.
Yes, sir.